Welcome back, everyone, to the spotlight here on Fightful.com. I'm still Jeremy Lambert. That is still Steven Jensen. And below us, a man you know here from Fightful, Grapsody, every Saturday at noon Eastern with Will Washington, Phil Lindsay, and the great Righteous Reg, a media legend, the man who made CM Punk cry, PWI 500, Black Wrestling's 500. Righteous Reg is in the building. How you doing, man?
Oh my God, I'm very excited, Jeremy and Steven. Thanks for having me on the show. This last week was insane. All kind of stuff was going on. I finally recovered from the hangover of all these lists being released and all these people being so upset about these things that they all year say they do not care about. I do not care. Do not care. As soon as it comes out, they care so much. It's amazing. I love it.
Isn't it funny how it seems like the people who say they care the least about stuff really just like talk about it more than everybody else?
Yes. If you didn't care about it, you would say 0 words. That's the way to not make mention of it. But I mean, paragraphs and stories and all this, it seems like you care a lot.
I love when you put out the Black Wrestling's 500 is, first off, that's just incredible work, start to finish, doing that. And I want to get into that here in a second. But like, you put it out, and then your next tweet is like, trying to pay too much attention to the numbers, just like appreciate that there are 500 great Black wrestlers out there, and like appreciate the work, learn something new about these guys. Like, appreciate all of that. Don't get caught up in the numbers. And of course, all anybody wants to talk about is the numbers. They don't care about anything else.
No one listens to me. The wrestlers tell me, no, shut up. What you're saying is not true. They're numbers. And I'm like, I'm saying they don't matter. And they're like, no, shut up. I'm like, okay, whatever you say, have at it. But yeah, people obsess over the numbers. And I'm just like, try to put one person putting together a list of 500, like really, like how much of a ranking could it really be? Just one opinion is what I really get to. So like, if you want to, this year just got to, if you want to celebrate your number, that's awesome. But in reality, I mean, it's just like a great list to celebrate an immense amount of talent over like, I was number 3, blah, blah, blah. Like, if you want to, great, but you probably shouldn't, is what I'm really saying.
Well, also, like, whether it's the Black Wrestlers 500 or it's the PWI 500, once you get to a certain number, let's be honest, like, it's just cool you're on the list at that point, right? Like, I mean, there's such a little difference between so many of those numbers to me that it's like, really, it's just like, we're thinking of you, we wanted you on the list, like, and this is just kind of a general idea of kind of where you rank amongst, like, everybody, but, like, and then if you're not on the list, like, it's not at the end of the world either. Because
no, it's not.
Like,
either way.
Right. Like, there's great wrestlers that I see not on either list sometimes. And it's like, but no big deal. They're still great wrestlers.
That does not mean that just because you're not on the list does not mean you're a great wrestler, does not mean you're this. And it does not mean those 500 people are better than you. That's not anything that I'm saying in the world. This is just the PWI is ranked. There is blah, 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 all this that goes into it. But my list is just like, here's a celebration. Number 1 is just as good as number 500 is to me. If you want to say it's not, then that's you and your own personal insecurities and things. But to me, number 1 is just as important as number 350 is, as number 220 is, as number 445 is. They're all like relative to what's great about the list. The PWI one, me putting out the BW 500 before made the PWI fun because I got to be like, well, that's a celebration. This isn't a celebration. I mean, it's supposed to be a celebration also, but people are making it not a celebration. It's about tribalism. It's about all these other things. And it just felt a lot more fun of people just being like, I can't believe Jay White wasn't number 6. What are you doing to me? Like, everyone takes it so personally. And I'm like, I know that Jay White's your favorite wrestler, random dude, but it's not personal against you on the internet. I promise.
You want to know what's really just, I'm sorry, Jeremy, I don't mean to cut you off. This is the last thing before we got a lot of questions about this, but this just reminded me to bring this up. I think it's really ironic that of all people in the world, and y'all will get this, where I'm going with this, MJF, of all people, is the one who's like praising the list.
Right.
Like the one guy you think would be like totally like, screw everybody who's ahead of me. I'm number one, blah, blah. He's like, no, like, this is a pretty good list. You know
he said they did a pretty good job. I like what they did. He had like totally just praise from the jump. He released a tweet praising it. Like, it's been like, no, you guys, they worked really hard on the list. And we're like, Max of all people saying this, what the hell's going on, man? Something's going on here. Listen to MJF.
At the end of the day, like, we're ranking a subjective and predetermined sport, right? Like, it's not like MMA or any other sport where it's like, all right, there's tangible evidence. This guy has championships that they actually won. This guy has scoring records and everything. The winners are predetermined. Anybody can be booked like anybody else.
Anybody.
And what you enjoy in the ring or on the mic or whatever it might be is what you enjoy. It's all completely subjective. And that's why I don't get caught up in the numbers. Like, all right, cool. Roman's number one based on their criteria. Awesome.
The best thing that we say is, like, if it was based off who's the best every year, Bryan Danielson would be number one. This would be the most boring list ever. It'd be 20 years of Bryan Danielson won again, you guys. Big surprise. No one's surprised. So, like, if there's some other factors that go into it, it gives people other people a chance, because this would just be the Bryan Danielson 500 if that was what it was. So. I mean, it should be. It is what it is. That's what it should be, honestly. Every time I start, I'm like, hey, Bryan Danielson number one. Even on like this year, there was no Roman was like, it's been in the running, it's been in the workings. Like, how are you going to deny that reign? The PWI 500 list is about what he did. It's hard to be like, oh no, Roman didn't do it. But I still went in being like, hey, Bryan Danielson was really out there having a great time, you guys. Don't forget.
Well, the main controversy that I've noticed was the Jon Moxley ranking. It was the big not in the top 10 ranking. But then PWI came out and like pretty quick said something along the lines of, like, based on our criteria, which is our criteria, like, he didn't have as many matches because of because of when the rankings actually are based off of. And I thought that was a reasonable explanation. Like, personally, do I think he was one of the top 10 wrestlers in the world? Yes. But I also think that like Cody probably could have ranked higher as well if he, was wrestling more often. MJF it falls subject to that too. Like, he just doesn't wrestle as often. So it's harder to rank him higher than some people that, are on that level, but, working all the time. But I guess, did you want to speak at all on the Moxley ranking specifically? Because that's the one that I really felt like was the most controversial to people on social media.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is there's always going to be at least one wrestler that is in this position. There's always going to be one wrestler that we should have ranked higher. There's always going to be one wrestler that just falls under this, like, damn, maybe we should have probably focused a little bit harder on it. Moxley was the number one wrestler. He's been on the cover of PWI. Like, it's not like it's lost him. It's not like he is the perfect example of why these rankings are really like whatever. Moxley was the number one wrestler in the whole world for the whole year. If you really get down to what he did in different promotions and different big matches, like, he's the guy. Like, it's hard to deny he was the number one wrestler. He didn't rank number one, but that doesn't mean he was number one. Oh, he wasn't number one in PWI, so he didn't have amazing matches in main events, and he wasn't in New Japan, and he didn't bleed all over the country because the list said he didn't. Like, no, it's still if you think Moxley's number one, then he is. That this list doesn't change that. That's all that it really comes down to.
That's a great answer.
I want to talk about the Black Wrestling's 500. Yeah. And it was, you can correct me on my information here. I believe it started in 2019. Started at 250 and then expanded to 500. How did this idea come about? Is basically my question. Is like, what made you think like, all right, I'm going to do this list. I'm going to sit down, put all this into it, and just start this list?
It all was from the PWI 500 in 2019. I think Seth Rollins was on the cover. I hadn't looked at the 500 in a couple years. When we were younger, like, it was a big deal. We used to go to the store, buy PW. We used to be like a thing. And then for a while, I don't want to say it fell off, but it just kind of like,
magazines fell off.
Yeah, that's all it was. There wasn't a print media or whatever. Nothing really happened. And then it kind of started coming back, and people started kind of craving like a print and different aesthetics of things. And there's some art stuff like that. So PWI was coming back into prominence. And so when that list came out, it was a popular thing. But I had already been being into the Black wrestlers thing. I had the Black Wrestling's podcast, and I was just, in that my space was like trying to get Black wrestlers into the spotlight or whatever. So when that list came out, immediately I was like, I wonder how many Black wrestlers are in it. That's the first thing in my brain is PWI 500's out. I haven't looked at it in a long time. Let's see how many Black wrestlers are on here. It's 500 people. There has to be some. I think there was like 36 or maybe 36 maximum. And so I was like, that's kind of weird. And so I tweeted like, hey, you guys, is it kind of weird that there's only 36 wrestlers out of 500? Like, that's a lot of wrestlers. You guys can only find 36 of them. And everybody's like, yeah, that is weird. You're right, blah, blah, blah. And it just kind of became a little thing. And then somebody was just like, you should make your own list. And I was like, that sounds insane. I don't want to. And then like after 5 minutes, I was like, well, I do. I mean, I'm like off the top of my head, I probably know a 100 Black wrestlers, just like off, just being in the scene and knowing everything that I knew. I probably know 100. Maybe I could do a list of 100. And it just kind of kept snowballing. And then I landed at, okay, I think I could get 250 Black wrestlers, half the list. I know I could fill up half the list. And so then that just started me. Like I built that 100. Like I was like, everybody that I know from TV and from the independents, I can get to 100. And then I just started scouring the internet, Facebook, Twitter, Cage Match, anywhere I could find some match listings, try to find these Black wrestlers. And it legit only took probably 2 days. And I got to 250 after reading about the PWI 500, and then that's how the BW 500 started, just off of only finding 30 wrestlers in the PWI 500. So I thought I could do my own, so I made half.
When does PWI contact you to? Because you said it in I believe it was like a tweet, like you used it to basically change and influence the PWI 500, and now you're part of like the group that picks the 500. So when did they reach out to you and be like, hey, we like what you've done here, let's talk?
Yeah, they were making a change in the. Well, no, what happened was I got linked with the editor-in-chief at the moment. I got linked with him just to be like, hey, somebody was like, hey, Reg made this list, blah, blah, blah. This is 250 people that potentially could have been on the list. I got linked up with Harry, and Harry was like, oh, you're right, but I mean, we can't change the list. It's out, blah, blah, blah. Maybe next year something happened. Nothing happened for a while. They switch over to Kevin. Kevin becomes the editor-in-chief. Then he sends me a DM, and he's just like, hey, you're right. There should be more representation. There should be this. Everything that you're saying is correct. For the PWI 2020, we want you to come on and do like a little excerpt on the thing to be like representation. I made this list to kind of just say my name and what I did off of the last year's list. And then I did well with that, and I helped a little bit with what went on with the list. And then they were just like, well, why don't you just start? Kevin just wanted me to start writing articles. So I just started writing articles for them. And then the next year after that is when I really was like, from start, like who's going to be on this list, what placement, what place it has to do with that. So both the things came with each other. The PWI came out, then it wasn't good enough, I thought. So I made my own. And then off of that, they found me from making the list off of their list and ended up with them.
People listening to this should really take note as far as just taking things into your own hands. You know what I mean? Because it's undeniable proof when you give someone a list of 500 names, or even at the time 250 names that you've come up with, and it's like, tell me only 36. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You're like, there's no way it's only 36 when I can give you this list. I mean, it might not be all 250 or under 500, but it's going to be more than 36. You know what I mean? So then it gets them at least paying attention. Exactly. And then it snowballs to what it is now. I think that's incredible. And we both know from following the independent scene, like Black representation has gotten a lot bigger over the last few years, especially. It's been, definitely. I mean, the amount of talent out there is just wild.
I don't want to toot my own little horn, but I mean, I played a little. I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but I helped a little bit with like what's going on, because like after I put out the response to the BW 250 was crazy. Like people were like going, like it was a lot, and so like there was people I talked to bookers and promoters that were like, I used your list to book talent.
That's
personally.
awesome.
Like I've heard that and seen that with my own eyes. I've seen entire wrestling shows that 100% of the people are from the list. And so it's like, it's crazy where it moved into and just how much like if that's all I really wanted to be. I never really wanted it to be like, well, we want to know who Righteous Reg is, who's this, blah, blah. No, it's always about me being the messenger. If you know who Don't Die Miles is, if you know who Christian Robinson is, if you know who Jocelyn Navarro is, if you know who those people are, that's way more important. That's why I say when people are complaining about numbers and shit, it's not a, if you're complaining about 1 through 100, do not talk to me. You know who those people are. Even 1 through 200. Oh, who's number 150? That's probably somebody you know, probably somebody on TV. They don't need it. Like, why wasn't Kofi Kingston number 1? He's Kofi Kingston. You already know who it is. This list isn't about Kofi Kingston. It is about Kofi Kingston because he was the first ever number 1. But what I'm saying is it's not about the people that are on TV. It's not about the people that you know. It's about number 350. It's really about 200 through 500, the people you don't know, the people on the come up, the people that need support, the people that need this. It's not about what the people that are on Dynamite are doing because you already know them, but people don't really understand. So I've thought about before, just like, what if I just leave everybody off that you know? What if I just left every single on TV person off? But then the whole thing will just be like, well, why didn't you include somebody on TV? Why didn't you include this? So it's like, it's been a balance.
I think you do it the right way because if you just put out like, here's 500 names, then like that's great. That helps people recognize. But like there is something to attaching the numbers that then it blows up because of that. Because then people want to argue, right?
It's fine.
And then like you said, it's not about the numbers, but the numbers does help just create the engagement and everything. And that's what helps.
It's annoying sometimes, but the discourse is super fun. And when a wrestler, when I go to their Twitter bio and it's all number blah 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 and the BW 500, that is like, that's amazing, and I'll never not want to see that. So if I have to put numbers for somebody to be like, I was numbered blah blah blah, I want to see that, and I love it, and it's awesome. So that needs to continue.
As I'm sure you know, independent wrestlers refer to the day of the PWI 500 dropping, and I'm sure they're doing the same with your list as well now. That's the national my booking rate just went up day, because that's when you send the promoters that number and go, hey, number 19 right here. I'm gonna need a little bit more money the next time.
It's so funny because that's like a thing too. It's like some vets will be like, oh, your number doesn't matter. Your number doesn't matter. I remember last year Ethan Page was doing his vlog and Hornswoggle was on there, and they were talking about somebody's number, and Hornswoggle was like, well, your number doesn't get you bookings, or your number doesn't do this, or your number doesn't. And Ethan Page stopped and he's like, actually, now it kind of does. Like things have changed a lot. Like you being high, like Kenny Omega in his intro says, I was twice the number 1 wrestler, one of the best wrestlers in the history of the world. That's one of his accolades. So it's a lot more, it holds a lot more weight than these people try to lead on.
Has anybody messaged you and been like, could you not like make me a little bit higher? You know, can you not help me out a little bit? Yeah.
A lot of people the whole year. That's mostly what my life is about. Is like, I'm like, as in our position, when a wrestler DMs you, it's either two things. You're like, damn, this is cool. Like I'm interacting with the wrestler, or it's like, damn, what did I do? Like, why is this wrestler DMing me right now? I can't like. And for the most part, it's been like, what the fuck? What my number, dude? Why didn't you blah blah? And I'm like, I just want to say it's never personal, ever. It's never, ever, 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 ever personal. Like, you're an amazing wrestler. That's what I was like. It's funny because it's like, you're amazing. Why are you yelling at me about this dumb number? You're one of the best fucking wrestlers there are. But wrestlers, they're sensitive, man.
See, they're yelling at you because the difference between 90 and 85 is a couple $100 to promotion. So.
Exactly. Now I know the importance of that.
What's that?
I said, now I know the importance of that.
Yeah. Like, hey, Jonathan Gresham, I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but him citing his number, like, he was 10 this year. He's walking in. He's like, top 10, pay up. Give me that belt back.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I love it, and it's my favorite thing that's been created. My favorite thing that exists in the world is that he uses his number, and I made him number 5 on the BW 500 so I can help. So you can like, I was 10 on this, I was number 5 on this. Like, what are you guys gonna do? Raise my rate. Let's get this money.
Yeah, rate's going up. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Tell me about Grapsody and how that came about. I know you guys just celebrated your 1-year anniversary of basically the idea where you and Will were on a show and it was, hey, let's do something more together. And then it spun off into this.
Yeah, it kind of was just like existing in that space, being the list creator guy and kind of building my name to try to put these wrestlers out here. And then I just kind of find people who I like Philip Lindsay was just doing articles. And I was just like, it was really Philip Lindsay and Andrew Thompson where they were both doing articles. And I was like, damn, I just like these guys. They're black guys too. They're kind of, I relate to them. So it was cool to see that type of energy, those type of people in the space. And I kind of built a relationship with them for a while. And it was always like, we have to do something together. Eventually, I had a podcast, but I stopped doing it because I wanted more. I wanted to co-host. I wanted what eventually Grapsody was. So it was like, eventually we have to do something. We have to do something. And then Will Washington just kind of, he's been in the space for so long, 17 years, but he just kind of came out of nowhere, it seems, because it feels like I would have been trying to be in something with this guy forever. So Will Washington pops up and he starts having his own podcast and he's just kind of giving up an energy where he wants something new. And so we did the podcast, the infamous line, we should all podcast together, pretty much led to it. It all came down to just like, I saw people that I related to and was happy to see in this space. And it felt like the same for them. I wanted to do it with integrity. I had seen the wrestling news cycle was kind of bad. Like right before Fightful started to get kicked off, the wrestling space, I just didn't like how everything was moving. I didn't like how the people were reporting it. I didn't like anything involved in it. And I was just like, we need to get into the space, create our own lanes and be able to like push our stories and push our brand of this. And so that's what happened pretty much. We got to Grapsody. Will Washington started cooking on the, I don't want to say insider because that sounds crazy, but he started to build a name in the space that I wanted to infiltrate. And Philip Lindsay's always with the articles, Bleacher Report, doing all these things. And then I'm over here doing lists and making music and trying to do all the things that I can to create my little space. So it's all just mutual wanting something better for the space.
Yeah, I love what it's become. I mean, it was like big so quickly too. It's like, I feel like it really took off right away, which was really cool to see. And especially with like the time slot of y'all being Saturday afternoons, that's really cool too. Cause that's like, reminds me of when I was a kid. Like I'd wake up and watch like WCW Worldwide or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, you have like your Saturday afternoon wrestling space. And, so I think it's really cool. Congratulations on all the success with that, man. I mean, just a year in, y'all are killing it. Been killing it since day one. And I know you're like me when it came to like, because me and you, I remember it's been a while already, but when me and you did that GCW review a while back,
right? Was that like, January? Right? Was it on the World of GCW?
Yeah. I think that was the one. And I remember talking to you a little bit. We almost went down a rabbit hole because I was like, oh man, this guy's just like me. Like we were both on like Kazaa and LimeWire, like watching Amazing Red clips and all this stuff. I was like, I remember those days. So like, it's cool. It's cool to know you kind of came from like being such a big fan of wrestling and like the internet wrestling community, even like all the way back then and stuff, to like now really carving a name out for yourself in the space, man. It's really cool to see.
Thank you so much. That's really what it is. I was thinking about that actually a few days ago because I came up during message boards. Like I used to love to browse the CZW fans message board, and one person, Rob Naylor, used to frequent on those message boards, and he was probably the first person that inspired me to wanna, because it was like, when you're growing up, it's like, okay, I want to be a pro wrestler. It feels like the only way you could get in is like, I have to be a pro wrestler, I have to be a referee, I have to be blah blah blah, all these things. And when the dream kind of like was done of me being a wrestler, it was like, well, how else can I get into this space, not just being a commentator or blah blah blah? Like, how do I get some other kind of space? And then when I saw Rob Naylor just like was a wrestling fan, just really loved pro wrestling, and he eventually got to FCW and the WWE just off of that inspired me to like, well, if I just kind of ramp up what I do, ramp up the things that I like to do and how I could make my name in the space, then I could do it too. And so that's kind of like, that was the beginning of the BW 500. It was like I always wanted to have something that separated me from everybody else, because everybody can write, everybody does news. Now everybody's a damn source with Twitter. Like you don't like, the shit is wide open. So what is different from me? Like what separates me from every single other person that's out here making the name? Well, I do this list, so that like really, like when I say the BW 500, like I'm miles away from everybody, because that's one thing that's just mine. Like everybody else is doing news, scoops, doing whatever, editorials, all the stuff. But if you have one thing that's yours that could separate you away from that, then you're going to get to the top. That's what I like to tell people. I get a lot of people in my DMs like, well, how did you get to the position? What do you, it's like, you have to do something different. If you don't do anything different, you're just going to get stuck in the pack. We all have podcasts. Jeremy, Steven, we do 20 podcasts a week. Like what's going to be different from your podcast than Jeremy's other 5 podcasts and my other 5, you know what I mean? Like it has to be something.
You got to do something different, or you got to just do something at a very high level and continue to do it, because
yes, consistency is super key.
Yeah, consistency is the biggest thing. And like you mentioned, like, yeah, anybody can write news, everybody can write news. And it's like, okay, but Andrew Thompson, I will always credit him. Like, there's a difference between the way Andrew Thompson does news and grinds on news and covers the news compared to literally everyone else out
exactly
there. And that is also a big thing. Yeah, having consistency with stuff, because you're right. Everyone can have a podcast, but are you doing it weekly? Are you doing it daily? What are you doing with the podcast to separate yourself?
Is it just a raw review podcast? Is it just this? Like there's so many different factors. Everyone really does that. That was important too. I was like, Phil and I talk about that. Like if we have to be a Raw and SmackDown and NXT review podcast, we're out. Our podcast has to be different, because everyone's doing that. What are we going to really do to be different? We have to bring some kind of other thing to it.
Dude, that's what saved me, man. 100% was like, I took a hard turn into the indies a few years back. I was like, I was like, there's hardly anybody like on like a Fightful platform or like any big platform that's like going to like Southern Underground pro shows in Nashville.
Right.
Like I'm just going to go and just start talking to wrestlers and see if they want the interviews. You know what I mean? Like, and so I think that's really good advice. Do something different, just something different. And because if you're good at something, that's obviously there's value to that, but then you have to be better than all the other people that are also good at that.
That's exactly
you got to be original, you know.
Like you're good, but you also like, it's as a rapper, like that's the hardest thing that I experience, because it's like I'm not on the super upper echelon of great rappers, but like the space that I'm in, there's so many rappers in that space. It's like you got to be better than this 1,000 that are on this space to get to the next level, to try to be as good as those 1,000 that are at this space. So it's a lot of constant work, constantly just trying to. The good thing is about it is I've gotten to a space where everything is fun. Like anytime I'm like working on wrestling, I'm having the best time. So it's a good space to exist in.
How did the AEW music and now AEW video game being featured in that with your music, how did all that come about?
Congratulations on that, by the way, man. That's incredible.
Yeah. Just Grapsody, pretty much. It's just like doing that podcast and talking to people and seeing how many people in AEW and around it kind of enjoy what we do. Us going to the media scrums and just like being ourselves. Like the scrum talk and all that is so funny, because people that have never been in there have thoughts and what they would have did and what they would do. But it's like, if you're in there, it's a different space. But I've never, if for one, was not Righteous Reg. I wasn't I wasn't doing anything. I went in there to be myself. I knew what questions I was going to ask. I knew how to create my own space again. Like, how do you separate yourself from all these other people? And so I think just us having integrity on our podcast and being really about the pro wrestling and having fun. When the Who We Are project was proposed at the end of last year, we just kind of felt like the people, I don't want to say the go-to people, but some people that, were immediately in their mind, because I had already existed in the music space. Will Washington also existed in the music space, done a lot of producing. And Will Washington has made a lot of connections, networked a lot of connections, and he kind of got us into that. So doing the Who We Are album, we did a lot of work for it. Will did a couple songs. I did a couple songs. I worked on a song for Jade Cargill. I worked on the song for my big homie Powerhouse Hobbs. And so I think that just kind of led to everything else. That led to me getting Ruckus hitting me up a few days before Double or Nothing to be like, hey, do you want to do another one? Yeah, I'm ready. Paige Van Sant needs a song for this weekend. Oh, really? That's crazy. Okay, I got you. And so then get that to him. That unfortunately give Paige Van Sant a damn match, you guys. What's going on here? I can never hear this song. I've only heard the song one time because she's out doing whatever she's doing.
Yeah, bare knuckle fighting.
I know. Could she have her song out there? Help my brother out. That's all I'm saying. And so I just think that led to, you build relationships, network. Ruckus hit me up one day and was like, hey, we got the video game coming. And I'm like, cool, that's great. Could you send me a copy? And he's all, hey, would you want? No, what happened was he said, what's your best song? And I was like, I don't know. If that could be, if Ruckus is saying that, it could be for anything in the world. He's like, hey, what's your best song? I'm like, probably Brick Foam. That's like I wrote that song this year. It's just like everything about that song is a song. Here's a song. He's like, oh, cool. We're gonna put it led to, hey, that song's gonna be in the video game. How do you feel about that? And I'm like, what? What do you mean? That's what I can't talk. I can't form together words to say yes. But yes, please, please, please. And so that's been, video games take a while. That's been in the running for a while. I didn't even know when they were going to release any information, if they were going to just release the soundtrack with the names or whatever. I didn't know anything. I didn't know this video was going to come out last Saturday to be like, hey, Righteous Reg's song is in there. So that was a big shock and a big deal. And I'm super excited. It still hasn't really hit me because I haven't played it yet, but it's something I never knew that could happen. Everything that's cool that's happened to me is something that I never knew that could happen. I never knew that I would be able to interview the WWE 2 times. There's been 4 black WWE champions, and to be able to interview 2 of them while they're WWE champions for a magazine. I got the cover story with Big E while he was the WWE champion. That's something I could have never in my life, even like when I was 13, like, hey, when you're this age, you're going to interview the WWE champion and it's going to be the cover story of this magazine and you're going to be a writer. All of that. I'd be like, what, dude, what are you saying? Why are you saying these words to me? You're being weird. So like every time that happens, it's even more shocking because I never even imagined it. It's like, it's so cool. I'm happy to be here.
Man, that's awesome. Well, when you're doing the music like for wrestler entrances, I'd imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd imagine when it's someone maybe like Hobbs, maybe you have kind of like an idea going into it of kind of where you want to go because like you followed his career, you know what he's about, you kind of have an idea, but then you get hit up and they're like, hey, Paige Van Zandt, she's got an MMA background, she's never wrestled a match before. What kind of direction do they give you as far as like what they want her music to even sound like, and how do you even put that together?
Yeah, they usually kind of just like send out, there's like a list of like, here's kind of the music that she's influenced by. Here's what I think the track should sound like. And here's some bullet points. Like luckily in the Paige Van Sant wasn't super out of the realm because I watch MMA and I'm pretty familiar with the things that she did. So it was just mostly like, well, what are the other things? Like, what is the person, not even her, what is anybody, what do they want the fans to know about them in this little moment of music and what's some important points like, oh, she's a bare knuckle boxer and does this and blah, blah, blah. So it's just kind of like figuring out which points you want to hit and then figuring out how you want to hit them.
Gotcha.
It's all fun. So it's like you getting paid to have fun. It's like, how do you make this fun? And that's where you land.
Are you a playable character in the game? Have you negotiated that?
Oh, dude, Fred Durst negotiated that back in the day, and that's still one of like, the most OP moves that anyone's ever made.
This is what I'm saying, Reg. I'm looking out for you, man. I'm trying. I'm gonna get you in the game.
I don't know why that one got me good. That's hilarious. I wish so much I was a playable character, man. That's so funny. We still like a question that people like, when's the release date? No idea. No one has any idea. I've been told 20 different release dates. I don't know. I cannot help you. I hope it's soon. We all hope it's soon. It's coming one day.
I think the leak is February of next year.
Okay.
Is what the big leaks are. This is not me reporting anything.
Yeah,
this is what the leakers are saying.
Okay.
Things. Good. You know what? I've popped Will today. I've popped you today. Me and Phil are going back and forth with Jay-Z lyrics on Twitter. I'm having fun with the Grapsody guys because baby. I do. You guys are the best. You guys are fantastic. I do have beef with you though. I like to start beef on these shows.
Ooh.
Usually I don't start it. I usually try to curate it between other people. Typically I would ask you like, could you beat up Will and Phil?
Oh, okay.
Like, but I have beef with you because I've told this story off air. Andrew Thompson, our friend, we were close. We're still close. And I learned of you through Andrew, right? And I was like, Reg seems really cool. He seems like we get along well. He seems great. I was like, and he's always put me over, or he's always putting you over to me. This is back in the day. This is like 2019, 2020. He was putting you over to me. I was like, I've seen Reg. I've seen his list and everything. Like, he seems cool. And I followed you. And it took you forever to follow me back. And I was so mad about this because I was like, I want the love and affection of Righteous Reg because you always seem so cool. And I would try to message you and like banter about with you. I was like, I won't Reg follow me. This would keep me up at night, Reg.
Him for the follow. You were baiting for the follow.
This is keeping me up at night.
I'm slow with the follow, man. There's some people like most of the time I go on a page. I'm like, how am I not following this person that I've been following for 3 years at this point? It just happens like that. It's always an accident. It's always love. I appreciate every single. No, I was gonna say I appreciate every single person on Twitter, but that's a fucking lie. There's a lot of weirdos and people that I do not appreciate on there. Jeez Louise, it's scary, man.
It is very scary. You don't want too many followers. I told Phil that a long time ago. It's like,
you told all of us that. I remember that, Jeremy, and I hold it in all. Every time my follower goes up, I think I'm like, damn, Jeremy told us we do not want this, and it rings true every single time. Like, it's just too much because sometimes I just want to get a dumb tweet off. I'm like, Madcast Pat Moss sucks. It's like there's not a wrestler in the world that I want to fail. Anytime that I'm like burying somebody, it's all in fun. I want everybody to get money. I don't want anybody to be injured. I don't want any of that. So let me get my damn jokes off sometimes, people. Jeez Louise. No, I'm just kidding. Madcap Moss is awful.
What'd you get in trouble for on Twitter like last week? You said something and was it the chair thing? Yeah, people were really mad about that.
Well, what happened here?
No, because I said we were talking about the fight thing, and I was because everybody was like, "That's a felony, that's an assault." I'm like, "Sure, yeah."
Oh, I did see this. Yeah. I saw it. You were comparing it to like what actual problems are. Yeah.
See, and because I have a bigger follower account, I have to like sit back and analyze and be like, maybe I should, I have to reel some things back. So
that's the worst.
I don't want to reel it back, Jeremy. I want to keep getting this shit off.
I know you want to keep like the troll tweets and the fun tweets going because that's the demographic you're appealing to who were on the come up with you. Like that's what got you the attention and stuff in the first place. But now you got the casuals. And the casuals are just going to blow everything up.
The casuals, man. It's the ones that have been following you for 3 weeks. And they're like, I didn't know you were like that. Like, dude, come on, man. I need the ones that my A1 since day one. But yeah, it's the casuals, as always, coming in to ruin pro wrestling all the time, trying to be the focus. Casuals, just coming and getting their little thing, even though we're here hardcore every single day of our lives, busting our ass.
Y'all ain't watching stuff on IWTV and TV every week like Reg and Jensen. Get the fuck out of here.
Exactly. Damn casuals. I hate that. Even WWE, I'm like, you guys never reward me. You guys stay talking about casuals. I was here in 2013. I was here watching the Nexus and all this bullshit. Rico Constantine. Reward me for being here. Why are you always trying to reward the casuals?
Yeah.
It's annoying.
Yeah, man. They need to do something. I've said this forever. WWE Shop. It appalls me they don't have a reward system.
Dude,
all the money over the years that I had spent on that site, where I'm like, I'm not getting any sort of perk for like one free T-shirt every $300 I spent on this site. Like, come on.
Or dude, I had the network from day one until they went to Peacock, and they didn't. I didn't get a reward for paying every month. I didn't get nothing. They didn't get a free nothing. They don't care. But if you were a new subscriber, here's all the things. Here's all the perks. Have fun.
Only time they did anything for me was when I canceled the subscription to the network. I got mad at something. I canceled it, and then they sent me an email immediately that was like, "Don't you want to stay for one free month at least?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I clicked it, yeah.
They're working like damn cell phone companies. It's terrible out here. Jeez Louise.
Reg, last one. I'll get you out of here. What's the coolest thing in your room?
I don't know. I have like the check. The coolest thing that's happened this year is I got a check that says All Elite Wrestling, and like one of my life goals is like to have a check. I have a check. I'm shilling all the way, baby. I have a check from a wrestling company with the name, all of that. That's cool, man. Like little kid me would be like, wow, man, you did it. I mean, even though like it's not a forever check, I don't get checks all the time. And that's what I tell people when they're like, you guys are AEW shows. If I would show every single check. Every time I got a check of them, I would open it on Grapsody and show it to the camera if that's how it was. These people don't get it. Yeah, probably that. Definitely. Just because like I worked very hard to get that. That's what people think, like this journey like just started. No, this is 30 years of being a wrestling fan turned into these things that you guys see. I worked hard for all this shit. Black Wrestling's 500 came from my brain knowing and finding, and now it's like when it started, it was hard to find 250 people. Now there's at minimum 1,000 black wrestlers around the world that are filtered, and 1,000 of them have passed through my brain. So I wouldn't wish it on anybody else.
People do not see the actual grind of years and years because they just see you when you get somewhere. And then it's like, oh, exactly. Well, how'd he get here? Had to be as Carolina Panthers head coach, genius Matt Rule says, he became an overnight sensation after 7 years.
Exactly.
That's how it works.
It was a lot of which night? It's a lot of overnights, man.
Yeah.
Like, I was an overnight sensation, like 550 of them. I don't know, a lot of nights, dude. So
it's all about being prepared when the moment comes up. Like you have like the moments, like your moment's eventually going to come. That's like anyone listening here. Like, but if you're not prepared for that moment, it means nothing. Like you have to be putting the work in. You got to have something to show for when that moment comes, and then it's like, boom. Now that all of a sudden it feels like, wait, where'd this person come from? It's like, well, you didn't see or listen to all the podcasts for all the years that no one else was paying attention to, and all the articles that nobody was reading, and just grinding and
all the tweets that no one's interacting with, that no one cared about. Now they care about every tweet.
They weren't with you shooting in the gym, Reg. They were not with you shooting in the gym.
Not with me shooting in the gym, but they in the arena now. So let's all celebrate and let's not hate each other, you guys. That's it. That's where we're gonna end up at.
There you go.
Okay, actually, I do have two more comments. One, you should use the AEW check as a bit and just hold it up every time. Like, yep, paid show. Like, you actually have an AEW check. Like, you could do this bit. And real last question. Has CM Punk reached out for you, right? Reached out to you for like just advice. He's going through a tough time right now. You got to this man emotionally.
Oh, so
as he reached out, just be like, Reg, I need some advice right now. Like, what can I do?
Well, Jeremy, what you know, as anybody that follows me on Twitter knows about me, my favorite tag team of all time, the greatest tag team of all time, the reason that All Elite Wrestling exists are the Young Bucks. So I don't think he would come to me for advice about what to. Because as soon as he calls, I'm gonna be like, "What did you do? I heard what you did to Matt Jackson, Punk. You're not getting my advice, you little silly boy."
I love it. I love the bias because I'm right there with you.
Young Bucks, man. He's the reason you're here, Phillip Brooks. There would be no this if it wasn't for them. How are you fighting them? That's it. So I don't know.
Reg, thank you. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Of course, Jeremy said it a couple times. Grapsody every Saturday morning. It's 9 a.m. for me over here on the West Coast. It's noon for normal people in the world. At Righteous Reg on all of your social medias. Go on there to see the Black Wrestling's 500. Get the newest edition of the Pro Wrestling Illustrated 500. 2022 edition. Roman Reigns is on the cover. Yeah, whatever. Everybody's so excited. Cool. Great. He's going to have that belt for 700 more years. We're all excited. No, seriously, get the magazine. It's super cool. The one should be on newsstands. I wish I had the newsstand date, but you'll be able to get it on newsstands very soon. But if you can get the digital edition right now, PWI online, go get it.
Thank you, Reg. We appreciate it. Everyone check out Grapsody right here, youtube.com/Fightful.
RighteousReg.bandcamp.com too. How could I forget? Come on, you guys.
RighteousReg.bandcamp.com.
Yeah.
Go to @RighteousReg on Twitter and support the tweets that are about his work and stuff. Do not yell at him when he wants to get his shit off.
If I want to talk about how shitty WWE house shows are, let me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just let him.
Someone needs to say it.
Yeah. Grapsody, noon Eastern, 9 on the West Coast, Saturdays here on youtube.com/Fightful. Reg, thank you again. We appreciate it. Guys, we'll be right back here on the spot.